We are going to have accountability at DHS, or there will not be Democratic votes.
You've got paid protesters out there that are trying to track you down and get inside your head. Hell no. They should be allowed to wear a mask, just like the protesters do.
Trump understands that the public is not with the administration's cruel and chaotic policies here, and that we actually need to restore law and order.
We have to have something to protect ICE members from the harassment that they get for doing their jobs.
Well, the partial government shutdown is over, and regular order for 11 out of 12 appropriations bills. But the Hill writes it this way: the DHS funding, the fight shifts into high gear. Now the real funding battle is about to begin. The package approved Tuesday includes funding for DHS through February 13th. But what happens after that is a big question mark. Lawmakers have 10 days to reach a broader deal or agree to give themselves more time or risk funding for the agency lapsing. While ICE and Customs Border Protection have drawn the most attention in the funding debate, DHS includes other major agencies like TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard that lawmakers are keen to fund. Let's start there with our panel. Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume, Mary Catherine Ham, Fox News contributor, and Annie Linsky, White House reporter for The Wall Street Journal. Okay, Brit, you know, Democrats are saying they want changes to how ICE operates. They are basically saying that they're not going to do a continuing resolution, in other words, a short-term pause, continuing to fund until they work this out. They say February 13th today. And there's just not a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah, you're right, Brett. There's not. There could be another shutdown, or at least a lapse in funding for DHS. The problem for the Democrats, it seems to me, is that ICE is pretty well funded through like 2029. And so the agencies that would be obviously shut down are ones that the public can see: TSA, you know, FEMA, at a time when there's, you know, serious weather issues around the country and the rest of it. I'm not sure the Democrats are therefore playing a particularly strong hand politically as they try to do this. Everything the Democrats want to do at all times, 24/7, 365, is to resist Trump or his administration in any way they can. And they think they found a winner with ICE. But they're now fighting over something where ICE is really not implicated. So I'm not sure this works for them, but I'm not here to suggest that they won't do it.
Yeah, Annie, it does come in the backdrop as we see different ICE action on the ground in Minneapolis. Tom Homan saying there is going to be a pullback of some 700 agents. Take a listen.
This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers. We identified a gap in regard to the use of body-worn cameras. And this was actually raised by the workforce. That inconsistency was unacceptable, so we moved immediately to prioritize full body cam deployment in the city.
Okay, he didn't stop mid-sentence there. That was the tape, Annie. But what about where we are on this in the context of all of this?
Yeah, I mean, the backdrop to this fight on the Hill that you were referencing is that in Minnesota, Tom Homan is doing what he was sent to do, which is bring the temperature down there. He's sending some of the ICE officers back, sort of reducing the forces there by about 700 people, and that was announced today. But he's bringing the temperature down, and that, I think, does affect the fight on the Hill, because Democrats in particular felt that they absolutely just could not vote to fund ICE as they were seeing some of the tactics that were under play. And you do see the administration saying, okay, look, we are going to make some shifts there. And I think that will ultimately change the dynamics on the Hill.
Okay, meantime, there's this push by Republicans, Mary Catherine, for voter ID. We've seen it many, many times, but now they seem to have a little leverage. The Brennan Center for Justice, this is against voter ID. It's called the SAVE Act. New SAVE Act bills would still block millions of Americans from voting. In every form, they say, the SAVE Act would require American citizens to show documents like a passport or birth certificate to register to vote. Our research shows that more than 21 million Americans lack ready access to those documents. Roughly half of Americans don't even have a passport. Millions lack access to a paper copy of their birth certificate. The SAVE Act would disenfranchise Americans of all ages and races, but younger voters and voters of color would suffer disproportionately. This is quite something, because all these people, if they have to travel, have to use an ID of some kind to get on a plane, to get a beer, to go in a federal building. And if you look at our polling, Fox Voter polling, voter ID, should it be required before voting, it's 84% to 16%. How does it get defended on that other side?
Right. Well, voter ID and SAVE are slightly different in that proving citizenship requires more documentation, but this is something that people do regularly and have to do to get a real ID, which the federal government is requiring to travel at this point. But this is one of those issues where the media at large will convince you that this is a minority issue, that no one wants voter ID. And then you look at the numbers and it's like 75 to 85% in all demographics, all races, all income levels, because most people think, well, yeah, that makes sense. Now, when it comes to getting a vote on this SAVE Act, I think it's a little tricky because just funding the government is taking this much work. Trump messaged in a Truth Social post that he didn't want this as part of this funding deal because he wanted that to get through. Thune is saying we'll get a vote on it at some point, but that becomes trickier and trickier as you move through the calendar, although hardliners certainly in the House are going to want something to move forward. But I do think when it comes to presenting voter ID when you're voting, largely the American people are for it.
Yeah. Here's Chuck Schumer and President Trump on this issue.
The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
We should have voter ID, by the way. We should have a lot of the things that I think everybody wants to see. Who would not want voter ID? Only somebody that wants to cheat. Think of it. We don't have voter ID, and the Democrats don't want it. And the reason they don't want it because they want to cheat.
Britt, I mean, Jim Crow 2.0, we heard that again and again. Remember that Georgia election law that was going to be so bad?
Yeah.
And then it turns out it really wasn't that bad for preventing voting. In fact, it went up.
What rubbish. That's right. What rubbish all that stuff is. And, you know, it's interesting to hear Chuck Schumer and Democrats saying this is an abomination. They're going to do everything to stop it. The polling shows that 71% of Democrats are in favor of it. So I think it's a political loser for them. Whether it will be framed or brought up or presented to the public in such a way that everybody sees it and cares about it is unknown at this point. But the issue's there, and the feeling about it is obvious. So I think it's a political winner for Republicans and a good idea to boot.
Yeah, and Annie, does the White House see that they're in a good spot here, or in the wake of Minneapolis that somehow it's shifted politically?
Yeah, I think this is something that the White House would prefer to be talking about because, you know, to your point earlier, this is an 80-20 issue, and this is an issue where Republicans and the president feels like he is on very solid ground, and the polling data does show that.
We'll see if it all comes together. Panel, thanks.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.